The Washington-Seattle mission is different from other missions because we had to run everywhere we went. It was a rule to run everywhere we went with my first mission president. So for the first 9 months of my mission, we ran everywhere we went. From door to door, from the church to our car, everywhere. And of course, following the Spirit, you meet someone, talk with them, following the Spirit not to pass people up. We read about that in the scriptures. But that was a rule. And that's one way it differs. And that blessed me a lot, just to be diligent and to work hard and to not waste any time. One of the main reasons we ran everywhere and why it became a rule is to hasten ourselves as missionaries. And when my first mission president left after 9 months, President and Sister Che came in and they established it not as a rule, but as a suggestion to keep running. And so I ran for my whole mission. And yes, I lost weight from running so much, but that's just one way that it is different than other missions that I hadn't heard of before, and I was grateful for that. Another way it differs is the culture. Seattle is a melting pot, one of the most diverse places in the United States. I served in 5 different areas. I served in South Seattle in a city called Skyway, which is very diverse. And there's people and religions from everywhere, from Africa, from the Polynesian Islands, from Japan, from China, there were Hispanics, there were Americans, there were Europeans, almost from all over the world, a lot of Indians as well. And that was my very first picture I knew of Seattle, and it stuck in my mind for the whole time because I met people from everywhere. And with those people came their religions, and so that was a very new experience for me growing up here in Utah. So that's one way. The second way that it differed, the weather. It rains a lot, which my second mission president said, when it rains, drink it, as a more of an attitude, to be grateful for the rain and not to be depressed, be down, be discouraged about it, but to drink it. More as a symbolic attitude to have towards the rain. It was cloudy and rainy a lot, and so, but with the rain came beautiful weather in the summertime, so that was awesome because it was very humid and very warm. Those are a few of the ways that the Washington-Seattle mission differs, and that is both more temporal things with the rain and the cloudiness, and then but with the people comes spiritual things as well. The first thing I would do if I went back to visit Seattle, not as a missionary, would be to go to the coast. It's so pretty, and it's just amazing, the view and what it feels like there. I never served on the coast, and I always wanted to know what it would be like because I've always loved the beach. And so that's one of the first things that I would do, is go to the coast. And thinking more of the missionary aspect, I would go visit the Campos family, and I would visit the Cougar Mountain Ward where the Campos family live. I loved all my areas, but that one had the greatest impact on me, and I'm very grateful for it. And many of the missionaries and my mission president has changed since then, now being a 1.5 years returned. But if they were still there, I'd go visit the mission president and the missionaries too. The food was interesting on my mission in Seattle. When my second mission president came, it was all Korean food. Almost every transfer meeting, zone conference, mission leadership council. So I got very used to Korean food, and I never had Korean food before. But my perception of the food before I went to Seattle was all Asian food, like seafood. And it wasn't so much that until my second mission present came, when we got all the Korean food. But there's not as much seafood as one might think before they go. Living in Seattle was rainy, and I got to ride in the car my whole mission. A lot of other missionaries were on bikes or walking, depending on if you're in the city, downtown, on University of Washington campus, or just in the neighborhood where you're on a bike. But I was blessed to be able to have a car my whole mission. And so transportation was easy, although I got my car towed and ran into a couple times. And there was bus. There's a lot of metro transit there that missionaries would take when they're downtown. Fun fact, I guess you could say, about my mission, or the Washington-Seattle mission, is you may learn to eat with chopsticks. I didn't know how to use chopsticks before, especially with an Asian mission president, President Sister Che being from South Korea. I learned how to eat with chopsticks. And I remember one time we were eating in their home, in the mission home. And when we'd go to, by the way, Seattle has the best teriyaki places that you can find on the map. So they provide you with chopsticks there, and they're wooden chopsticks. And so I got used to using wooden chopsticks, and then we went to the mission home, and President Che told us we had to use metal chopsticks, flat metal chopsticks, so they're slippery and they slipped out of your hands. But be ready to use chopsticks. I loved each of my areas that I served in. I started in Skyway, which is South Seattle. It was ghetto-ish area, but I'm very grateful for it. And the other areas that I served in, I went from Skyway, which was South Seattle, to Issaquah, which is just east of Bellevue, which is east of downtown Seattle. And then from Issaquah I went to Bothell, which is north of Seattle, in Woodinville. And from there I went to Cougar Mountain, and then from there I went to Bellevue. And so I spent a lot of my time in each of my areas, more in suburban areas where there are families. Skyway wasn't so much that way, but the other 4 areas were. And I loved every single one of them. Everyone was unique and different. The words were different. The people were different. Their desire to do missionary work was different, depending on where you were. And I loved every single one of them. I still am in contact with the people there. The last area I served in was Bellevue, and I loved being downtown Bellevue. It's kind of like the utopia of Seattle. It's a cleaner version of Seattle. It's similar to Salt Lake City, but a little bit bigger, I would say. And there are many different people in just the heart of Bellevue. So that was just fun to end my mission there. We worked a lot on the streets and in the transit areas. And Issaquah and Bellevue, or Issaquah and Bothell, were more knocking door to door. Skyway was more contacting. So every area differed depending on, the layout of the city or the town. And I loved every single one of them.